let's talk about how to get started making a sound with the instrument. So we have our instrument resting on our body. For the purposes of this video, we're going to focus on how to approach the string. We've talked about how to hold the bow comfortably, how to balance the bow comfortably, allowing the thumb to rest comfortably and feeling the fingers balancing the bow. But where many players get lost is how to actually approach the string. For example, many people will just try to come up directly this way and hope to get a sound, which they can. You can certainly get a sound, but the question is how to do so that makes it as easy as possible to get a sound. Oftentimes when I'm teaching, I like to refer to principles that we learn in science because I think bringing a certain level of common sense and scientific understanding could always make the student, the player, feel a lot more comfortable about what they're doing. In this case, we can talk about balance and we could talk about gravity and the importance of gravity when it comes to making a sound. We understand that what goes up must come down. And in this case, what's going up and going down is the weight of my arm and the weight of my back. Where many players tend to get confused also is the idea of how to produce the sound. For example, many players think that it's the fingers in the hand that create the sound. Well, I can do it, but listen to what happens. Even if you do it not quite as extreme as what I'm doing, you can almost hear how the sound is actually pinched sounding. It's because I'm literally pressing too much with my fingers and my hand and forcing out the sound from the string. The approach I prefer using is one where I use the weight of my arm. Again, we talk about the weight. And here, if you notice, I'm actually creating a circle with my arm. We're bringing it up with the elbow, and then we're bringing it down. So playing the violin or viola is actually the bottom half of that circle. Whereas I'm making a circle coming up, I'm finishing it off. As I finish the bow stroke, you have the weight going in to the violin. Notice how effortless it makes it to play when I use the weight of my arm rather than force. This simple exercise of creating a circle and then dropping the weight in can easily be done not only on the A string, but on every string. On the D string, and on the G string, and of course on the E. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about the proper elbow height. In previous videos, we talked about using the weight of the arm. While it's true you absolutely must use the weight of the arm, there are other components that have to really be working in tandem so that you can really be playing efficiently with ease and naturalness. While the weight is of course important, it's actually the elbow that determines whether that weight is going into the string properly. So notice where my elbow is when I'm playing on the E string. In fact, it's practically right by my side, just resting against my body. You could practically rest the elbow right by your body. That's how rather low it is in the scheme of things. But then watch what happens when I play on the G string. Notice how my elbow comes up much higher in order to be at the proper height. And how do we determine the proper height? Notice where the bow is on that G string. If you look at my elbow, you will see it is roughly parallel to where the bow is. Where the bow is resting, you can see that the elbow height is roughly parallel. In fact, you can also see that the wrist and the elbow are parallel. This, on the other hand, is an elbow that's too low, whereas this is an elbow that's way too high. Notice also what the shoulder's doing. The shoulder is also getting in the action. So this is really the optimum height. So as I come around, my elbow drops the weight into the instrument. So I hope that will begin to give you a little bit of understanding on how to approach the string.